This is Abby Johnson with Web Pro News reporting from Las Vegas. Joining me right now is Amanda Watlington with Searching for Profit, and we're going to talk about, okay, here you go. You have to give us actionable tips that you can tell everybody how they can make money next week.
Sure. It was one of the more interesting sessions in this here at shop.org. We were asked to submit a series of tips. Each of us submitted 3 or 4 because we only had 8 minutes in which to cover our tips. Some of them were surprisingly straightforward, and I'm still surprised at how many things we're not seeing being done, which were very, very easy. For instance, one of the tips was make the buttons bigger, make them stand out. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer. But in the context, with example after example being shown, it was surprising how few did that. I was on the SEO panel, so we got to look at a number of elements. One of the key points, which several of us focused on, was local search, was claiming, I call it claiming your push pins, which is to say go into Google, Yahoo, Bing's local search center and actually claim your listing. It's surprisingly easy, less than a morning's work, and you can have yourself show up with those magic push pins. We also suggested to people that they also consider reshuffling their navigation based on what they learn from the search. Most of times when people, when site owners do their navigation, it's all about product centricity. It's all about how they think the products are. Reconsider that. Go back and look, particularly for sub-navigation, and consider what's the user saying. And your organic search data will tell you very, very much what the user is actually saying. What are they looking for? You want to give them what they're looking for, because then they'll part with that all-important thing, their hard-earned cash to buy from you. It was interesting. The whole session had tip after tip after tip after tip.
So basically, it doesn't have to be complex. It could be the simplest thing that could produce the biggest benefits.
Yes, they were all things that you could implement within a week. I tried to keep mine things you could probably implement with a long morning's work.
And almost things that are so simple, but obviously overlooked.
Absolutely, and they're surprisingly low-hanging fruit. You could feast yourself fat on the low-hanging fruit that was presented at this session.
Very good. Well, since this is shop.org, talk about a few online trends that you are noticing.
Well, it's interesting. Right now in the online space, particularly the retailing space, I work with a number of retailers, and what I'm seeing is a cautious optimism, looking at Q4, looking at the Christmas season. Retailers are an optimistic bunch anyway, but there's increasingly reason to hope that the biggest storm clouds have passed. And we're seeing evidence of it in various points along the way. I think it's going to be interesting because some of the things which most particularly we've seen coming out of this awful recession is that we're starting to see people have pulled back, they've made the cuts they needed to, they're right-sized now, and so they're now looking for how to make more money and go forward. It's not really continuing retrenchment, but rather we're where we need to be. We've survived the worst. We've battened down the hatches. We're a little damp, but now let's go forward. Let's move forward. I think that's very exciting.
Basically putting the past behind them.
Yes, putting the past behind them and learning from it and taking what has to be done, what's left over, and moving forward from it. And I think a lot of lessons have been learned. Every time I sit down and chat with a client, each of them tell me more things which I think are lessons that we've learned. I'm actually thinking about compiling them into lessons the recession taught us, and putting it together.
Very good. Well, always great info, Amanda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abby. It's always fun talking with you.
This is Abby Johnson reporting for Web Pro News from Las Vegas.